love going to Disney World, but you know, during like the 3 months of the year, it's actually worth it because Florida has terrible weather that makes you constantly miserable. In my life, I have visited maybe about 9 times, and no, I can't afford that. I got friends on the inside, okay? And in those many visits, I've had some interesting experiences. Some funny, some emotional, and some just straight up weird. Hey y'all, I'm the Geek Apprentice, and of course my neighbor right outside my window would decide to do construction right when I start recording, but I don't have another time to record, and I wish I had a better way to incorporate house construction into today's video topic, but I don't. So we're just gonna both have to deal with it. I was initially a tad bit hesitant to make this video, seeing as I wasn't sure there'd be much interest in it. But after a lot of people seemed to like my video about my crazy video gaming experiences, I thought, hey, why not do my Disney one now? To start off, let's talk about my friend whose injury got all of us, our group, multiple fast passes for the same ride several different times in a row. Years ago, when I was in my early teens, a few friends and I went to a Disney concert event that was called Night of Joy. They don't have it anymore, but at the time they did. One of our friends was nursing an injury and had to be in a wheelchair the entire time. I know, not fun. However, that for some reason meant that when we went to go get on Space Mountain, she got a bunch of fast passes, and so did we, because we were in her group. It happened multiple times in a row. They just let us keep going through. I doubt it works this way anymore, because this was like 10 years ago at least. But I mean, we ended up riding Space Mountain probably around 8 times in a row, making different poses for that picture section every single time. It was great. Not great that she was injured, just the benefit of riding Space Mountain a lot. You know what I mean. I once had to be wheelchaired around a park. Speaking of wheelchairs, I believe it was around my 21st birthday that a few friends and I went to Disney World, of course. Thank you, Jonathan. We were in Hollywood Studios this day and had obviously been walking around all day. And I've always had issues with my left ankle ever since I broke it when I was 11. It's just never been the same since, and I've had issues with dance as well. At that time, I was a few years into college and hadn't been as active, so it wasn't used to being aggravated as much. So spending a whole day walking around the park really got to me. Well, my ankle. I remember we were in line for Toy Story Mania, and it was toward the end of the day, and I could barely stand in line. It was so inflamed and it hurt so stinking bad that when we got off the ride, we had barely walked far at all. We went to do a character meetup at like Kylo Ren or something. I don't know. I don't watch those. I know everyone just like unsubscribed. But anyway, we had barely made it to the Kylo Ren area when I had to just admit that I was in a ton of pain and I needed a wheelchair. I could not stand anymore. And honestly, I was pretty embarrassed about it. But my friends were super awesome and had no issue whatsoever wheeling me around the park, and even found the perfect spot for us to watch the Star Wars fireworks show, even accommodating for my wheelchair. So it turned out okay. No seatbelt on the Tower of Terror, or at least not a great one. Okay. I love thrill rides, you know, just the G-forces screaming my head off, my gut going up into my throat, and I just get a high from that adrenaline rush. I believe this story takes place the same day as the last one, but before the ankle issue, so earlier in the day. I had never been on the Tower of Terror, and I was super excited. So we finally get on the ride, and I'm in like the very front row, the left section, but closest to the middle, closest to the aisle. And I'm expecting something to come over my shoulder, you know, something really protective. It's a drop ride. And all I see is this flimsy little seatbelt, waist belt thing. What? I remember turning my friend who was next to me and being like, where's the rest of it? This can't be the only thing. This is not safe. And he was kind of laughing. He knew that I was okay and that I was just kind of freaking out, but not like I actually was fine, and he knew I was going to be fine, so he was kind of humored by it all. On top of this, the guy, also in the front row, but on the opposite side of the aisle, leans over and goes, "Are you gonna scream? Because if you scream, I'll scream." And I was like, of course I'm gonna scream. Yeah, and I'm already freaked out about the seatbelt situation. I'm excited, but a little concerned. And so then we're going through the ride and we're still in like the hotel section. We're nowhere near the drop. We're nowhere near the top. And this dude just randomly screams and I match his scream, except I don't match it. I do it 3 times louder in response because it freaked me out and I was already kind of stressed, and everyone on the ride just starts laughing. But honestly, I was not embarrassed. I had a great time on that ride. I cried tears of joy on a ride in which its theme I couldn't care less about. Now this was summer 2017. I was 22 and about to go into my senior year of college when I was attending Animal Kingdom with my friends Jonathan and Caitlin. Jonathan specifically wanted to show us the new area of Pandora, which I couldn't care less about Avatar, but I can't deny it was cool looking. We went on some ride, like maybe the Navi River ride, whatever it's called, that everyone was like, the animatronics are so cool, and I was just like, okay, whatever. It was nice. I don't really care much for rides like that. But he managed to get us fast passes to the most sought after ride, Flight of Passage, which even with the fast passes, let me tell you, we waited for over an hour, so dang, imagine if we didn't have those fast passes. And you know what? There's good reason for that long of a line. Now he had tried explaining the ride to me and the most I got out of it was, okay, it's a simulator, I'm sitting on something and it's gonna do things. Okay, sounds fun. Great, I'm totally down for that even if I don't care about Avatar. I was not prepared for how awesome this ride is, despite not knowing anything really about Avatar because I just never paid attention every time I tried to watch it, just didn't care. I was just floored by the scenery around me and how fun the ride was. I just felt totally immersed in the experience. And I loved it. It was so beautiful and so fun. I started crying tears of joy. Easily one of the best ride experiences of my life, and I don't even care about that franchise. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Universal, you have access to DreamWorks. I know you're making a How to Train Your Dragon area. You know what to do. You know what is needed and necessary. But for real, y'all, think about it. If I got emotional on Flight of Passage when I don't even care about Avatar, imagine that, but a really good How to Train Your Dragon version. Everyone will just have to stand clear of me for a while if that happens. Because I will be inconsolable. I will be so happy and there will be so many happy tears. Please, Universal, make it happen. Roller Coaster Simulator Nightmare. This feels like eons ago, but it was maybe like my second Night of Joy? I don't know, 13, 14? I'm not sure how old I was. And while Night of Joy took place in MGM, or Hollywood Studios that year, we were in a different area for something else. It wasn't Disney Springs, but it's something that doesn't exist anymore, and I cannot for the life of me remember what area it was. Anyway, there was this place where you could go in and make a roller coaster, if you will. It was unreal stuff like jumping off tracks, you were in outer space, it was narrated by Bill Nye, the science guy or something like that. Well, I thought this was just going to end in us going over to a screen and seeing how that ride would look. I didn't know that there was going to be pods we would get into and that everything we input there on that little computer was going to translate to that pod and we were going to actually experience it. So, of course, I input all of the most crazy stuff and we got one of the highest thrill ratings that cast member that was with us had ever seen. And I remember whoever I was with, which I, for the life of me, can't remember who, was kind of like, wow, you're really taking the big stuff. Now, this was before I was really sure if I was a thrill ride person. Obviously, I am, and I discovered that quickly, but I didn't know it yet. Well, I kind of knew it. I wanted to ride the Hulk when I was like 7, but I was too short. So anyway, when they took us over and they showed us the pods, which there's like a little screen where you can see the people already in it for their ride, that's when it kind of started to set in. Oh, I'm actually about to experience this? And even though, again, I'm not opposed to thrill rides, in fact, I love them, but wasn't sure just yet at the time, I wasn't prepared for that. So I started, minorly panicking, just a little bit. Whoever was with me was just laughing their head off because I was screaming bloody murder, having a great time, and there was like a red button right next to me if I needed to stop it, but I wasn't going to stop it. I was having the time of my life, even though it really didn't sound like it. And Lord knows the people that were behind us, watching the screens, seeing our reactions, were probably also laughing at me. No shame. I know the place doesn't exist anymore, I'm pretty sure, but I would totally do that again. Roller coaster voicemail. This last one is probably the funniest to me, and you'll see why. So I have no idea how old I was. I cannot remember, but my mom's best friend took herself, my mom, my brother, myself, and her adopted son to Disney World, and how do I phrase this? She had us staying in the Ritz-Carlton in our own suite. It was fancy. We didn't know what to do with ourselves. Anyway, there was one day when we, of course, went to Magic Kingdom and naturally rode Space Mountain, and it was my first time going on Space Mountain, so I was pretty excited. Now, this was in the age of flip phones and slidey phones, and I myself had a little flip phone, so I must have been 12 or 13. It wasn't like something I just used. It was an emergency only thing, you know, like mom, dad, no one else, because what 12-year-old needs a phone? Seriously. But my dance studio traveled a lot and my mom couldn't always come, so that's why I had an emergency phone. 12-year-olds don't need phones. Getting back on track. Track. Space Mountain roller coaster. Yeah, okay. My brother claimed he was chill the whole time on the ride and didn't really make any sounds. He probably wasn't screaming, whereas I had definitely lost my voice from being on that coaster. Well, a little while later, we went to lunch. I don't remember where. I don't remember a lot of things, apparently. And we were on the second floor somewhere, and I pulled out my phone just to make sure it was still charged, which I don't know why I cared. Maybe I was trying to take pictures with it, because I'm sure a flip phone had really good camera quality. I don't remember. But when I opened it, I noticed I had a voicemail from my brother. From, like, within the past half hour. We were all confused, including him. So naturally, I open up the voicemail and realize he somehow accidentally butt dialed me while we were on Space Mountain, and I had a voicemail of him having the time of his life, clearly screaming on Space Mountain. It was hilarious. I saved it for years even after I upgraded phones, but then somewhere between high school and college, I lost that phone, so now it is gone forever. Sad day. Alright, that's it for just some of my crazy Disney World stories. Be sure to let me know what you thought of them in the comment section below, and especially tell me some of your crazy Disney World or Disneyland stories. I would love to hear them. And if you found some of these funny or weird, share them with your friends. You can either laugh with me or at me, doesn't matter, it's totally fine. If you are new here, I talk about a lot more than just Disney, also How to Train Your Dragon, Zelda, Harry Potter, sometimes it's theories or sorting videos, discussions, it's a ton of fun. So if you did enjoy it, then maybe consider subscribing, checking out my other stuff like right here. Up to you, just throwing that out there. But that's all for today, thank you for watching.